What's up, Gloucester Township? I'm Joe Allen, here with Keith Gibbons, and this is the Inside GT Talk podcast, where we kind of just talk about what's going on in Gloucester Township.
Yeah,
mostly
on social media, as usually.
On the social media side of things. We've got Sam Sweet in-house here. Sam, if the folks don't know who you are, let them know who you are.
You have a problem with your headphones you said there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Well, Sam Sweet, longtime Erial resident, going on 20 years, and been involved with, Gloucester Township politics. Tried to run for office, 17 mayors.
17 years?
No, 2017, ran for
okay.
mayor in 2021 as well.
So 17 and 21. Gotcha.
Yeah, so two-time loser. Like myself.
Yeah.
We are we're in the two-time club here.
2 times.
So, yeah, we've...
What was that? It was it Goodfellas? Where you had the Joey 2 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get a coffee.
I might have actually lost
mayor.
more than 2 elections, but we can go into that later.
Oh, you lost more than 2 elections?
Yeah, there was a commissioner thing there. There was probably a...
I think it was the school board. What else? What else did you run for?
You did school board in 15, right?
School board in 15. Ran for council in 19. And then county commissioner this past year in the spring in the Democratic primary.
Oh, the 22, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't a commissioner in 23.
23. It was 23.
Oh, was it 23?
Yeah.
In the Democratic primary.
Oh,
primary.
In the primary. You did say that. My bad. Sorry. You seem like you're having a problem with it.
I'm good.
You're good?
Stings. The losing part stings.
It does.
But we can get on to we can get into some positive stuff here. Positive, maybe. This one. Look, I'm a former resident. I grew up in Pine Hill.
Okay.
And moved out of state for a little while. Came back into Gloucester Township. So I am in Pine Hill chat and the 75 different Gloucester Township talk groups. So
there are so many.
I've got a lot of feedback on the Pine Hill Wawa closing that led to the Erial Pine Hill opening. And boy, those folks in Pine Hill, they're not happy about losing their Erial. Their Wawa.
I bet.
They went to Erial. So
That was there for many, many years, right? That's like the old ones without gas stations and.
yeah, that went back to the earliest I found was 89.
Wow, that long ago?
That Wawa was there in
That's like
89.
112 years ago. Seems like.
Yeah, I feel like
Or 34.
Or
But you were close.
Close, yeah.
I rode my bicycle there. I mean that's
The 1800s.
You know that's what we actually had the wheel.
Did they
back
have
then,
dirt
too.
roads back then?
We had but Cross Keys Road was dirt road according to Carolyn Grace, but that was
Caitlin Garcia.
yeah, Caitlin Garcia, aka Carolyn Grace also. But yeah, I used to ride my bicycle to the Pine Hill Wawa, and now it's gone. It's just it's probably
I'm sure one of those, like, what do they call it? Pantry? That's usually what opens up in those things.
That's my people.
Yeah.
Because look, the pantry let us put our signs on their property,
Yeah.
so I'm loyal to the pantry. I go there if I
See, I might start smoking again just so I can go buy cigarettes at the pantry.
I really go to the pantry every now and then. You just get that, like, the ice cream craving, and you get go get a little ice cream. My wife loves Dots.
Oh, Dippin' Dots?
Dippin' Dots. Do you know what Dippin' Dots are, Sam? Mm-hmm. My wife is.
My kids love them.
Look at him. Does he know what Dippin' Dots are? That man knows what Dippin' Dots are.
My wife loves it. I'd never had Dippin' Dots until I met my wife. And
my kids love them. The rumor behind it is that they're supposed to be the ice cream that the astronauts take up.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to store. But my kids, love the cookies and cream, love the chocolate chip cookie dough. Almost so much better than regular ice cream.
Man, I had actually at my cruise in 2022. We stopped at Port Canaveral. I took the shuttle over to JFK Kennedy Space,
Okay.
and I got I think it was my first Dippin' Dots over there, but it was the cookies and cream one. Fantastic.
I don't know if I'm making it up in my head or if this is really how I do it, but I felt like, don't they take it and they blow it through like a screen, like there's like some sort of a mesh screen, and they like. So, I don't know why, but I feel like that's a way that they make those little tiny dots. Like how the heck they?
Yeah, they're
is
just
it like a
little
liquid,
frozen...
and then they like somehow, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like that's how they do it. I don't know why.
They're great. I don't know, but that's we go
How
to
did we
we
get on
go to
Dippin'
the
So
pantry.
how does Dippin' Dots play into the Erial Wawa?
They sell
But
them.
because the pantry across the street sells Dippin' Dots, and the Wawa doesn't, so we continue to go to the we continue to go to the pantry, and because look, the pantry doesn't stand a chance to Wawa
Yeah.
with everything that Wawa has to offer.
And let's
but
not forget the Heritage that's also a block away.
right down the street,
Heritage too, right?
Heritage right down the street. I honestly, I only think I've been there twice since I moved here, but.
Although if you're a fan of egg salad, the Heritage makes a good egg salad sandwich.
Did they?
They do, and Wawa does not make egg salad anymore. So there is that for going for
haven't
Heritage.
had egg salad since the 80s, probably.
I don't know if I've ever had egg salad.
I feel like
I think I had maybe an Aunt Bertha or something that had.
I was thinking my grandmother was
Right,
probably the
like, I
last
don't know.
person to ever give me egg salad. So, yeah, that now Heritage, in my opinion, was slushy. They had the best slushy. Like 7-Eleven had the Slurpee, but the slushy was different. The slushy was more liquid. It had the little round ice balls in it. It was kind of like, I don't know. Do you know the slushy?
I don't know anything about Heritage. Where I grew up, it was
No.
7-Eleven. And then there was...
Oh man! See, my grandparents lived in Woodbury, and we had a Heritage right next door, basically. So we went there for slushies all the time.
I've driven by a Heritage before. I think I've been into one time. I don't think I've really ever been into a...
We got a couple
Heritage.
still in Gloucester Township, but the Wawa has opened. It opened on November 16th, and Pine Hill.
So
They're-
gas station...
they're pissed.
It's a big gas station one. It's a full
Yeah.
deli and all that stuff inside, right?
Yeah, it's got everything. I've not been there yet. Have you been there yet?
To the what? To the Wawa?
The new one, yeah.
I have. It's typical Wawa. Typical Super Wawa.
Yeah.
It's got the gas stations. I have stopped there for gas because, believe it or not, the gas is 14 cents cheaper a gallon than it is over at the Cross Keys one or the one up on by Highland.
Is
I don't know.
Cheaper?
It's 14 cents cheaper right now. I don't know if it's just because they a grand opening and they're doing a special,
Wow.
but it is 14 cents cheaper. So 14 cents a gallon. And, when my truck has a 25-gallon tank, 14 cents a gallon is, more than a few bucks.
So, you bring up a point that I struggle with sometimes. Like, there's a what do you call it? Sam's Club, right? Sam's Club has gas cheaper than like a regular gas station,
That's right.
and there's people that will wait in that line. Like, there's like 10 cars in front of them, in like out of 6 different lanes of all going in there. And I think to myself, it's 8. You're saving 8 cents a gallon. Like my car holds 12 gallons of fuel, right? Like,
Yeah.
8 cents times 12. So you're a mathematician over here.
It's 96 cents.
So 96 cents over the course of a year. If I had to waste 20 hours of my life to save $4 over the course of a year, like, how many is that really worth it to somebody to do? Or
Maybe not, in that scenario because you have a 12-gallon tank, but my truck is 25 gallons. So
Okay, double it.
14 cents
how
a
many
gallon.
times do you fill up a week
Well,
or a month? Or how many times a week?
probably once a week because remember I'm driving up to Cherry Hill.
Okay, so once
to my
so
office,
52 times a year, you save how much a fill up?
14 cents is $3.50 again. $3.50 times a week. It's $150. But there's no line at the Wawa.
Right, Wawa's different.
This Wawa, there's no line.
Right, but the
So-
Sam's Club one, it just blows my mind. Like I remember back at this time of doing the math, sitting there. I don't even know why I did the math, but it literally would have saved me $50 over the course of a year. And I sit there and sometimes when I watch, I forget why, but I had it like I was like really low on gas or something, and I sat there and I'm like, it took me 25 minutes to get gas. Like this is insane of how long.
Yeah, the only time you'll catch me, I'm a Sam's Club member too. The only time you'll catch me getting gas from Sam's Club is if I'm leaving Sam's Club and I'm low on gas.
Right.
That's the only time I'm going to deal with it. And honestly, look, I work from home, so my car is mostly in the garage all week. And gas in the thing lasts forever. I get gas when I absolutely have to get gas, so and it's closest to wherever I am. So it doesn't matter. But I'm kind of going to keep in mind now that Erial Wawa is the closest place to my house now. So
You'll go there?
If I get in the car and start the car up now and I'm low on gas, I might go there and check it out.
See,
I honestly I don't go inside Wawa though.
I make it a point myself to not go to any of those big stores. I go to there's like a mom and pop gas station over on the Black
ones
Horse
with the rust
Pike.
in the tanks.
Hey,
Usually, yeah, it's
I'll deal with it. I would rather support a small business than
I'd rather not get run over in the parking lot too. Also going to a Wawa, like when you leave, when you pull into the pump, if you make it to the pump without getting run into, you leave the pump and it's like you gotta pull a quarter of the way out, halfway out, and you gotta. It takes a long time to get a Wawa.
Did they build in a rest stop area for like public works employees too? Like did they like
No, they just hang out there. That's the hangout for
the one over across from Lewis School. They have like the big truck lanes over there, and like after school. It's literally filled. Like there's 17 trucks over there every day at the
That's
the same
where
time. Do they do that over at Erial, the new Erial one, or they didn't build that?
I haven't noticed that yet. I think they hang out at the Hojo Wawa too. I think too.
Oh really?
I think Public Works hangs out over there too.
What's interesting though about the Wawa? There's a Wawa on Cross Keys. Mm-hmm. There's a Wawa on Sicklerville Road. Mm-hmm. There's a Super Wawa now in Erial. There's a Super Wawa over at right across from Highland High School. Or down the road from Highland High School, across from C.W. Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's another Wawa over on
Blackwood Clementon Road,
and then the Wawa that's over across from Skeeters.
Yeah.
So that's 7 Wawas in a span of, literally probably 5 square miles.
Yeah.
And Pine Hill can be all upset that they want, that Erial took their Wawa, but Erial didn't want the Wawa there.
Yeah, the people of area didn't want the Wawa.
We went to speak out against the Wawa because Wawa during the zoning board was asking for variances because
it didn't fit.
It didn't fit. They only wanted they have 4 gas pumps, but it was only zoned for 2. The lighting on there, the Wawa needed to be recessed a certain number of feet, like 10 feet or 20 feet, and they only wanted it 10 feet. It was zoned for commercial and residential, but it was supposed to be a much smaller Wawa. And Wawa, during that zoning board meeting, I was there, and a whole bunch of residents were there. And the zoning board at the time, because it was already planned there, and people went up and were saying that we don't need a Wawa. We have one at Cross Keys. We have the one at Pine Hill.
Right.
And the zoning board wasn't hearing that. They were just saying, is anybody against the variances?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I went up there and I said, listen, I'm not here to debate whether or not, the Wawa is going to suffice, and who cares how many Wawas are on. I am sure Wawa has done extensive research and can prove that if they're shutting down the Pine Hill Wawa, this Wawa will survive just fine.
Right.
But what's it going to do to Erial itself? These variances. You're going from 2 pumps to 4 pumps, which 2 pump stations. Now each pump has 2 pumps on it, so now instead of 4, now they have 8 pumps. Okay, that's obviously to sell more gas, and they wanted the lighting recessed because they want more space for the cars to go in the parking lot.
Yep.
And then they wanted a bigger Wawa because Wawa's done its research. But my concern, and at the time was, the extra gas, the extra traffic, and then that turn onto Erial New Brooklyn Road because it's right across from the fire hall.
Yeah.
Well, anybody who lives in that area, you've got a left-hand turn coming off of Sicklerville Road onto Erial New Brooklyn Road, where you make a left-hand turn, which is right on the back end of the fire hall. Well, that left-hand turn's tough enough to make before the Wawa was there. Now you can come out that Wawa and you can make a left-hand turn onto Erial New Brooklyn Road while someone else is trying to make a left-hand turn
out of the Wawa,
out of the Wawa and coming off of Erial Williamstown or Sicklerville Williamstown Road, that back road.
Yeah.
So it's a traffic nightmare, and the traffic studies that were done during COVID, not during highest point school.
Yeah. That same thing happened with this traffic studies for the warehouse that was on
golf course warehouse. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? It was that road.
That's
called?
Sicklerville Road.
Sicklerville Road.
And the same thing. It was like traffic studies were done while no one was out on the road. How can you do a traffic study for that? So same thing at the Wawa, you're saying too.
So the traffic study was done not at 8 in the morning when school buses are running,
right? And
not at 3 in the afternoon, 2 to 3. They were done at noon. So let's see what it looks like at noontime. Well, you don't have buses, and the majority of people in Erial are at work, and you don't have the school. Yes, there's schools around there, but the school teachers aren't running out to go get coffee at 12 o'clock around the corner.
Right.
Yep.
So I took it almost at that meeting it was just a rubber stamp. We will hear you because that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
But we really don't care. And unfortunately, the zoning board meetings are not taped. They're not recorded.
I think they're recorded, but they're not aired here. You could get a copy of a recording of it,
but the recording is really bad.
Yeah.
And the people stood up and were argued against the Wawa, and the entire zoning board just basically put a rubber stamp on it and said, nope, it's good to go. And now we've got a Wawa.
I guess part of the unfortunate thing, and not defending the zoning board or any of these boards, is residents have feelings about how something is going, like putting a new Wawa there. But in reality, the Wawa has a right to ask to be there. They have a right to ask for these variances, and the zoning board's sole responsibility at that time is to say, okay, are we granting these variances? Yes, the end result of our granting this results in Wawa being there, but is it okay for this variance to happen? You know what I mean? They're I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but they're kind of dumbing it down to all right, it's just this question that we're answering. I know that's the outcome, but this is the question that we're asking. Can we do that? Yeah, you can? Okay. Then let's do that.
Could have
because then what it ends up being is a lawsuit that you're end up paying money as taxpayers that we already complain about taxes all the time anyway, and now you just put ourselves in a situation to be sued by Wawa, who will sue us because we didn't grant those variances because we didn't have a legitimate reason not to. You know what I mean?
But it's my understanding, and while I agree with you, everything you said, it's my understanding that you're asking for the variances. You can say no to those variances.
Right.
And
just because you're asking doesn't mean you get granted.
The zoning board couldn't say when, the residents of Erial signed a petition and we've got 250 signatures signing it against a Wawa. Okay, or 1,500. I think they got 1,500 signatures.
Right.
That was not going to be allowed. Nobody cared. But the zoning board could say, we're not granting the variance for you to have, because you're in a residential area, a primary residential area, we're not granting you to increase from 2 pumps to 4 pumps.
Right.
Because of
Yeah, X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. And as long as they had valid reasons, then Wawa couldn't really fight those variances. And it's it's again, I'm not on the zoning board. It's my understanding that the reason you're asking for the variance is that it wasn't zoned for that in the first place.
Right.
And a valid reason is, hey, it wasn't zoned for that. It's a in a residential area, therefore we're not going to grant those variances. Now, if you want to continue to build there, that's fine. If you don't want to continue to build there, well,
that's
you don't have a
fine,
leg.
too.
That's fine too. That's your choice. You purchase that land. You ask for the variances. You may or may not get them, and it's well within our right not to. Like if we're telling you no, you can't build there. Period. Then there's a lawsuit. But hey, if you can build there,
you can't get
go
exactly what you want. You can get your Wawa.
Yep.
But it might not have as many pumps as you would like.
And the lights need to be recessed, and you need to put the fence up.
Right.
And you need to do this. And they didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
Now, why didn't they do any of that? Maybe we don't need 4 Wawas. Maybe there's no environmental catastrophe waiting to happen because there's gas tanks. Instead of 4 gas tanks now, there's 8 gas tanks, and there's a leak. I did ask that question: is there potential environmental hazard? They said no because the tanks are sealed, and even if they were, they would be contained into there. So, to your point, could they have done it? Yes, they could have. Did they choose not to? Yes, they chose not to. Hence, we have the Wawa.
Right.
But
that's where speculation comes in, where you're like, somebody's saying, yeah, well, somebody behind the scenes wanted that Wawa to happen. So I know you could say no to these things, but I want you to say yes. Now, whether that's true or not true,
we'll never know.
We'll never know, exactly. But it leaves room for speculation of that type of a thing to happen. Because to your point, you can ask for it, but you're not guaranteed that it's going to be granted. And unfortunately, it seems to always get granted when people don't want it to happen.
Yeah, it was kind of
wake
mixed.
up on there, Joe?
I was scrolling through topics, trying to find topics. And it's a mixed thing for me because, like, I like Wawa, and I think that Wawa is. Well, see, Wawa for me is great, but the process of getting into a Wawa without getting mauled over in the parking lot is like people look. The joke is always somebody will break their arm at a Wawa to hold the door for you.
Yeah.
When you're coming out of Wawa, but then run you over in the parking lot. So that's the thing. I avoid Wawa because I hate the experience of getting into Wawa. So I don't go to Wawa. So but other than that, I love Wawa being close. I haven't seen any increased traffic in Erial, so I can't really complain about it. Some other people have complained about it, but for the most part,
yeah, I'm not going to complain about it until I see that there's a problem. I mean,
yeah.
I foresee one, but just because I foresee one doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So as of the moment, there's a Wawa closer to my house. Means I don't have to go to Cross Keys to go get it, and they're 14 cents a gallon cheaper on gas.
I'll hit there just because of that. I think I got about a quarter of a tank left. So tomorrow,
there you
I'll
go.
probably going to head down to Delaware tomorrow. We'll probably stop there on the way to Delaware tomorrow. So we'll save.
Oh yeah, you do have a long trip ahead.
We'll save a couple cents on our trip to Delaware tomorrow. So, yeah.
Now, if you move to Delaware, you could save a lot.
Oh man, I look all the time.
Don't get him started, Keith.
I look all the
Don't get
time
started.
to find someplace else that's just cheaper, better managed that I can just go to. I don't care if I go to a town that has no rec centers, no playgrounds, nothing.
But you'll lack the premium services.
Yeah.
I don't need any of it. Hell, I'll burn my trash in the woods if they let me do it. I don't need any of this stuff. You
Hey,
can make, look,
I know
other
you could
than,
use. You could use some dirt that's been soiled with toxic chemicals.
That is probably one thing you will get in Delaware, though, since DuPont has a lot of pull in Delaware. If you move to Delaware, you might be poisoned, but it's cheaper. But in our case,
This was a topic that came up here that in Camden, down on 7th and Chestnut, there was a
toxic dirt pile apparently sprung up in the middle of the city.
Well, it was illegal dumping for all these years.
Yeah.
Is what the story said.
Yeah.
Was that someone started illegal dumping and then it just
kept going.
it just grew out of control.
There's still trucks. I was down there today. I was going down Atlantic Avenue. It's still blocked off, and there's still dump trucks.
Well, they
coming
said
out.
that 50 trucks a day for the next month will clear it. Now think about that. We're not talking like my pickup truck. We're talking big trucks.
Triaxle. Yeah.
How? I do.
Have you been to Camden? Have you seen? No one.
Yeah, but it's not like it's in the woods where you can just go dump stuff in the woods.
No one cares that it's no laws. It's like a.
It blows my mind that these places with all this population just have no laws where you can just go dump stuff.
There's a tire pile that I know. It's absolutely insane that somehow this got to this point. But nobody does anything, and that's I guess what happened here. But now the news though goes and says, "Oh, this dirt pile is going to Blackwood. It's being dumped to Blackwood." And people got up in arms online, like, "What? Where's in Blackwood? Where are they taking this?" And turns out it's really not going to Blackwood.
Did the news ever say it was going to Blackwood?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes. Channel 6 said
They said
their
Blackwood.
report said Blackwood, New Jersey. So much so that I actually asked my wife. My wife's a longer resident than I have. She grew up in Erial and lived here her whole life. And I said, "Is there a dump someplace that I'm not aware of in Blackwood?" And she goes, "Well, the one up the street." I'm like, "But that's not Blackwood. That's Erial, and that's got solar panels." I said, "Is there something in Blackwood on the Black Horse Pike that I'm not aware of?" And she's like, "No, why?" And I showed her the report, and they said Blackwood.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know. The only dump I know is the one up on Erial New Brooklyn Road, the one that's now got the solar panels on it."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, I don't know of anyone."
Well, it was in print, and it was a video of them, saying it a few
Blackwood.
different times and saying that, but it was actually Sewell is where it was going.
Oh,
So,
okay,
but people online were going nuts.
Well, people online were going nuts, and so immediately I thought, check it out, and I went right to Channel 6, and it said it was the Kinsley site in Sewell. And I thought, well, Sewell's Gloucester County, not Gloucester Township.
Well,
and then I thought, how do people not recognize the difference? But if you actually saw that it said Blackwood somewhere, then I take that blame off of the Gloucester Township residents that freaked out because everybody
no,
was
it definitely
freaked out.
said it. It was not.
It just happened to be
freaking out.
the first link that I clicked on to do the research on it to find out about it. Said,
by that point, when you heard it,
it's probably corrected, right?
they corrected themselves because then they said, "Oh, it's
Okay.
going to Kinsley. It's going to Kinsley, which is in Sewell, which is Gloucester County, not Gloucester Town." And everyone was like, "Phew."
Yeah. Good.
That's
up to them.
perfect case of NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
People don't care as long as it's not in their backyard.
Man, I really wanted to put that on Gloucester Township, folks, for just not catching that, but that was actually the news.
Oh,
that was the news that
it was the news that did it. Yeah.
I lost that battle then.
There was a joke in there that I really, really wanted to say online. I'm like, I didn't want to say, but they said, "Isn't there a dump in Blackwood?" I said, "Well, according to Joe D'Amico."
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the whole damn place
Whoa!
is a dump.
He said the whole thing's a dump.
Hey, we got a black box theater there.
We do.
Don't knock that black box theater. It's going to bring...
What do we spend on that thing? $2.1 million already at this point?
Oh, it's going to be worth billions of dollars, man.
Billions.
Billions.
What other topics you got here on Gloucester Township?
We got apparently police.
Oh yeah,
We got small businesses are being robbed.
there was a woman. Yeah, she owns a small business in I think it was Blackwood, right? That she said.
I couldn't figure out where that was coming from.
Oh, I thought she had said it in there, but there was then a few people chimed in like, wait a minute, there was just an armed robbery over at such and such, an armed robbery over here. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's never really talked about. We get a lot of messages about lock your cars, but it's not. It's one of the. If it's not talked about, is it not happening?
I don't know.
It's a weird thing.
For one, I don't want to have to lock my car. Now my car is in the garage, locked. It's protected, but
Oh, must be nice.
if I leave it outside, or if I don't have a choice, man, just the thought of that I have to absolutely make sure that my car in my driveway has to be locked, otherwise it's gonna get ransacked or stolen. Man, that doesn't make me want to live here.
But I grew up in Cherry Hill, and I've been hearing that my whole life.
Hearing what?
Lock your cars,
Right.
at
Really?
night, because and I grew up in Cherry Hill, so I don't think it's just Gloucester Township, a problem. I think it's an everywhere problem, and I said especially this time of year, I think it's blown out of more proportion because, it's the Christmas season, it's the holiday season, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and it's a festive time, and unfortunately, there are people out there that can't afford things. So some resort to stealing other things. And I think it's just that time of year that it gets blown out of proportion. People notice it more. But I think it's all over. When growing up, like I said, in Cherry Hill, I remember lock your car before, you go to bed. And I've heard it my whole life because my next door neighbor actually, when I was 10, had his car stolen out of his driveway.
Yeah. Now I've had. So I had my car stolen from my house in Pine Hill. I had my motorcycle stolen from my house in Clementon, and then I had another car stolen while I was at work in Cherry Hill. I've had cars stolen. Now, when I moved to Pennsylvania, 2.5 hours west of here, we didn't have police. You could leave your car unlocked. You could leave the keys in your car. You could leave your house unlocked. So it's the area that we're in. There's something different about the area that we're in. And I don't know this. Do you think it's really that people can't afford things, or you just think that it's just the opportunity?
No, I think Sam's right.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah, there's a pressure around this time because, say somebody has little ones that they need to get presents for or something, and they're like, I need to get, that is a reality. Like, he's not wrong in that, thing. But you're also right that there's, an area, that helps, not helps, but.
Do you think the person that steals your car, though, is taking whatever they got from your car and they're buying a gift for their kid, though?
I don't know what it is. I'm not making the judgment on that, but I was raised of the mindset of like just leave it open because a lock is literally only there to keep innocent people out. You know what I mean? Like if somebody really wanted to get into your car, they're getting into your car. If somebody wanted to steal your car, they're stealing your car. If they wanted to get in your house, they're getting in your house. You know what I mean? It's to keep innocent people out or to keep innocent people honest. You know what I mean? And I kind of still do that. I don't really believe in locks. It's just how. But I guess part of the other part of where I get on this whole topic here is if it's not talked about, it's not talked. It's all right. How am I trying to say this correctly here? if the police were to say that it happened, it doesn't mean that the police are bad because it happened. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's kind of how things in Gloucester Township, where it's like hidden, and if it's not talked about, then it didn't happen. But that if it did happen, doesn't make the police the bad thing, or the council, or the anything else.
Yeah.
It just happened here.
In one way,
But what that does, though, is help change or not help, but it hurts the great place to live, work, play, all that kind of thing.
But here's the other thing too. Like Joe, you said you moved into Pennsylvania. Okay, how many people were in Pennsylvania?
8. There's 8 people.
well,
I mean,
So,
there's smaller towns and they're spread out more. Here you have, in Gloucester Township, you have 65,000 residents. Cherry Hill, which is 11 miles away, has 72,000 residents.
Right.
Okay, and then in between, we can go Summerdale, Runnymede, Lindenwold. How many residents do they have?
right.
So in that's in a 25 square miles we have and then throw in Washington Township, which has another 70. So you have almost 500,000 people crammed into a 25 mile square footage.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot more people. And the more people you have, the more diversification you have. And certain people, you have the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots, it becomes an opportunity. Hey, look, we have 25,000 people with 25,000 cars. Let's try and break into it. And to go to your point of keeping it unlocked or keeping it locked, if your car's locked, it's opportunity. It's locked. They can't, especially now with everybody with a Ring camera.
Right.
Okay, if you're out there working on it, the Ring camera's picking you up. It could go, but if you just open it up, the Ring camera picks you up, but it's regular motion. So that's why they say lock your cars. Pennsylvania is not as many people, not as much of an opportunity. Plus, if something's stolen, it's real easy to catch them because there's not many people to look for it.
Yeah.
And there's one, you're out in the countryside, there's 1 or 2 roads. Here we're, Gloucester Township, we're right by the Atlantic City Expressway, right on the back end of the Cross Keys Road, so they can steal a car in Erial, jump on Cross Keys, take it to the AC Expressway, and then zoom up away before the cops even are called.
Yeah,
It becomes opportunity.
I think it's culturally different too, because it's just where I lived before. The closest police station was probably 45 minutes away, and we had in the development that I lived in was in the middle of nowhere. There were 1,100 homes in that development, and it just we had no crime, and it was, and you could easily steal somebody's car, and then drive off some dark road, and get away with it because there were no police. Our police force, the town that I lived in, the police force, they had like 2 cops, and then when that shift was done, the township took over, and the township, they ended their shift at 6 o'clock. After that, it was state police. So you were kind of like, you were on your own. If somebody broke into your house at 7 o'clock at night, you were on your own, and you had to just hope that a state police officer was in the area. So if you wanted to steal a car, you could absolutely get away with it. It just was culturally different out there, where people just, I don't know, they just respected each other. It's different here.
But again, if you stole a car out there, what are you going to do with it? You're taking it for a joyride.
Yeah.
Or you're not taking it to a chop shop in Camden, which is,
Yeah.
and you're not, you're not stealing the catalytic converter, which is the big thing now. All right. Get under the car, steal the catalytic converter because of the metal, and I can go into Camden and trade that metal, that rare metal that's in the catalytic converter, for money. Well, in Pennsylvania, I'm pretty sure there's not a need for catalytic converters where you were. In Philadelphia, I'm sure their catalytic converters are being stolen left and right, and nobody would blink at that.
Yeah, so, I think what they found with the catalytic converter thing was they're basically being shipped mostly to California, and I think they were kind of being funneled through a place in North Jersey that was then shipping them to California. So it was like a big ring that they busted. So it's like a national problem, but It just, I think, I don't know. I feel like the consequences were greater in in central Pennsylvania than they were here. Because I feel like here, if you get caught,
Well, is it the consequences or is it the what do you call it? Like the going after because the rules are the what am I trying to say? The punishment should be the same, but if you don't actually charge somebody with it, like are they more lenient on like charging you with that thing, like with stealing a catalytic converter? Like if you get caught here, they're just like, come on, get out here, get out of town, kind of thing. Versus if you got Pennsylvania, they actually executed like on. Okay, there's no slap on the wrist. You're going for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
also.
Is that what you're saying?
I'd be more afraid of. I'd be more afraid of what the homeowner would do to me in Pennsylvania than I would be in Jersey. You know,
That's true.
I just there. It's a different thing
Different
out
law
there.
out there.
I mean, I jokingly, because I moved from New Jersey out there, I used to call it Pennsyltucky because it just was so different than here. But at the same time, I wouldn't mess with a lot of those people. Yeah, I wouldn't go onto their property and do it. And I've had so many people that I know here get their catalytic converters stolen. My brother went to Mavis on Cross Keys Road. I think he went to get some tires put on his car. And they called him the next day, and they were like, hey, we put your tires on. I mean, your car sounds horrible. And he's like, what do you mean it's horrible? It's new.
Yeah.
And they're like, when you start it up, it sounds awful. He went up there. He parked it up there and dropped the keys in the box. Somebody stole his catalytic converter off while he was getting tires.
That's
so then when the next day, and they pulled it into the shop, and I mean, shout out to Mavis for being absolute friggin' idiots. They pull the car in, they put tires on there, and they're like, hey man, your car sounds horrible. You jacked it up and put tires on it. You didn't realize that there's no catalytic converter on the damn car. But yeah, my brother had his catalytic converter stolen. They were like, yeah, sorry, that's on you. That's not on us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, my brother got screwed out of that, but I know several people now that had their catalytic converters stolen. The outlets blows my mind. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, people are shopping at the outlets, and they get their catalytic converter
How
stolen.
are you sawing that off in the middle of like the daytime? You know,
like a battery-powered grinder. But how are you not...
Who doesn't hear that? Metal getting cut?
Who's getting their car next to a guy sawing a catalytic converter off and just going, well, that's different. I've never seen that before. And then they're leaving.
Well, that's different.
Yeah. Look, we at some point, you got to pull your head out of your ass and be like, that doesn't seem right.
Right.
I'm just going to call.
If you see something, say something. That's the saying, right?
Look, this is Gloucester Township. There's not a cop more than 5 minutes away at any point.
Oh, yeah.
Call.
Sam, do you have any idea how many police officers we have in Gloucester Township?
I want to say 155.
Really? So it's over, yeah.
It's
Close to 150-ish?
but again, the township. It's the second biggest
huge, yeah.
township in South Jersey.
Yeah.
So I would say
You a cough button for Christmas.
I do.
I would say they're warranted.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not. I was just curious how many there were.
I want to say 155. I might be a little off on that, but around there.
Isn't it funny though? Like when you talk about like how we just had to, you just had to specify. I think they're warranted, and I'd say, oh yeah, I'm agreeing. That you have to like defend like any talk at all about the police. You know what I mean? It's a weird vibe.
Yeah.
Like, anytime you say anything at all, people get very defensive about. Like, well, why love the police? I want to feel safe here. Like, I didn't say anything about that. You couldn't, but it's literally a topic you're not allowed to.
It's a weird. It's a strange thing here too because the police here are very well respected.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Which is generally not the case. Like in a blue state, they want to get rid of the police. But in
No, I
Gloucester
don't know about
Township,
that,
man,
but-
it's
All right, go ahead.
it's no, in Gloucester Township, the police are well respected, and I don't have too much. I really don't have too much criticism over the police. I've gotten a couple car accidents where I thought, man, the police kind of just been.
You got a car accident. It's the police fault.
No, I've had two different people hit me, and I've had interactions with the police here, and I thought, hey, I'm not a criminal. I got ran into. You don't need to treat me like a criminal.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I've had some criticisms with the police here, but I mean, in general, my interactions with the police. I go to council meetings all the time. I interact with the police there. They are they're great people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to go to your point, Keith, I guess the reason I said I feel that they're warranted, and I felt the need to say that was, I go to council meetings a lot.
Yeah,
and
you'll get attacked for that.
The minute you say anything questioning the police, it's you're against the police.
Well, that's my point.
And
of
so
this.
it's that's why I said, well, I think they're warranted, because they'll take a clip where they'll say, well, we heard that you were on there saying that there were 155 police officers.
Right. Yeah.
Are you against police? And I'm not. I've actually, as I said earlier, I ran for mayor, and I've actually had a couple police officers ask me if I'm going to cut their budget. I never said I was cutting their budget. Where did you get that from? Well,
Right.
Where does it come from? Council's asking me, the biggest thing, what would you cut? Would you cut the safety of the township, the police budget? No, I'm not. Never said that. So, it's kind of like a Pavlov's dog scenario. You get hit so many times, and now I feel like I have to say, but I'm all for it.
But to your, to what my point is here is, this is the kind of stuff that people are deterred from questioning the government, which is what our role as a citizen is to do, and it's because of things like that, like where literally just something that you just say in jest there kind of turns into like you have to defend yourself, because you know that the outcome of that is going to be that it's going to be used against you in the court of public opinion. It's just a fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And even online, if you were to say anything at all in a thing like with why are there armed robberies happening in Blackwood, somebody's going to call you a negative thing because you say something like, why are they talking about it? Why do you think that they it's just
somebody asked before,
it's like, what?
Hey, does every cop need to take a car home with them?
Oh yeah, you can't ask that.
Whew, man, just get butchered.
Yeah.
Because somebody just was like, I just wondered if it was just, the most economical thing for the police to take car home.
Right. Like,
and
I
then
don't care about. Okay, I just literally asked.
Yeah, hey, look, there's studies out there that say that is a good thing. So you share that study with the guy instead of the first 67 people saying that guy hates police, and he's like, nah, look, I just was asking a question because I'm learning about local government here. But yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Do we have any other topics on?
No. Well, I think we got Sam. We got Sam here, and what we really wanted to do was, we get people on here, and we kind of want to find out what's your story. Why have you? What made you get involved?
What made you Sam?
I mean, look, if you watch our podcast, if you watch our podcast and you don't know who Sam is, I think
shame on you.
it's right. Well, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird for one, but maybe I don't know.
Well, if you're a newer viewer and Sam has been missing in action for a few months.
If you're
dealing with life and raising his kids and
new recent haters too, you'd be probably like, I hate these two guys, and I don't know who else they know, but I want to hate them too. Well, here's a new guy you could hate if you haven't met that guy. So Sam, tell us what you got, how you got involved.
Well, so I think everybody at some point has a story on why they got involved in local politics, the local government. For me, it's going to go back to probably you know, 14, 15. Just, you know, my son's 2, my daughter's starting kindergarten around that time, and I'm hearing, you know, certain things about the school board, and that, you know, there's problems with the schools, and so it was, you know, started going to school board meetings, and, you know, was interested in that, and then a couple people convinced me to run for school board, and at that time I had no idea, you know, what I was getting myself into per se in the election. You know, I say this story is always a naive story from me, but back then the mayor would come out and say, "These are my people. These 3 people are who I would vote. They're part of my team." Well, in theory, the school board is supposed to be non-political.
Yep.
It's supposed to be bipartisan or nonpartisan or whatever you want to call it. And here the mayor's saying that these 3 people are running. Now, so the year I'm running, I'd never met the mayor. I mean, I knew who he was, but I'd never met the mayor. So I'm at the touch truck over in the outlets, and I see the mayor, and I walk up to him, and I, you know, introduce myself, and I said, you know, I'm not saying I'm the best candidate for school board, but you didn't interview me. So how do you know I'm not, like, what makes these 3 women that are running better than myself and my 2 people that are running with me? And the mayor couldn't have gotten away from me faster. He kind of did a little, you know, like head nod, and then all of a sudden 2 police officers came over and walked him away, said he's got to go, and then another one came over and goes, "Oh, something we can help you with." I'm like, "Oh, no, I just had a," and it was total, you know, naivety on my part. I was like, what have I gotten myself into? Like, it, you know, and I say that story now, and all of a sudden, you know, looking back, I'm like, holy cow, that was the stupidest question I could have ever asked. You know, I didn't win that election. You know,
Get out.
shocking as it may sound. You know, the mayor's candidate won. So then I kind of took it upon myself. Well, why is the mayor backing people? And one of the things that, you know, when I started to run for school board was I was amazed how many people didn't know how big the school board budget actually was. School board budget, we have 11 schools in the K through 8.
Yep.
All right, between middle schools and elementary schools. And I'd ask people, well, what do you think the budget is? Oh, how many schools? Oh, it's $1 million per school. No lie,
Wow.
people would say, oh, maybe 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. Well, back in 15, the budget was $120 million. So if you have to ask yourself, why do politicians want to control the school board?
Yeah.
Well, right there, you got 120 million reasons why.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, though, as I got more deeper into it, my wife was uncomfortable. She's a teacher in the district, so she was uncomfortable with me running for school board. Plus, it also became apparent to me that I would have to abstain on a lot of things. So it came down to the point of, well, if I'm abstaining, what's the purpose, you know, on a lot of items, because my wife's a school teacher, what's the point? I can't do my job.
Right.
To the best of my ability if I ever get elected. So at the same time that was happening, the township was going through, there were 2 items which really got me interested. It was the turf fields that were being built, and there was I don't want to call it a halfway home, but a drug rehabilitation center that was supposed to go into on Peter Cheeseman Road across from the college.
That big building that's in the fenced area, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
They were putting together, I forget what it was called, but they bought it from the church, and they were going to put a drug rehabilitation center, an outpatient only, that you can come and go as you please across from the college. And if anybody knows that area, there's also a daycare center, and it's literally, you know, 2 turns away from C.W. Lewis Middle School. So that got me kind of like, well, why are we putting it there? Why, you know, it's not that I don't, the drug rehabilitation center needs to go someplace, but why don't we put it at Lakeland, away from, you know, houses,
True.
middle schools, colleges, and it's not like it's not in my backyard, but over down by Lakeland where you don't have anything like that. And
Right.
so that got me involved, and then getting involved with the turf fields. My question with the turf fields was, how much is it costing us? Why are we putting in turf fields? And were studies done? So I started to go into there because I looked around my neighborhood, and I would say 75% of my neighborhood isn't going to use the turf fields. Now,
Right.
my kids play soccer, so they were using the turf fields. So when I went up, to council back in, I guess it was 16, one of my questions was, why are we building these turf fields, and at what cost to the township and to eventually the taxpayers? And the first response I got back was, well, Mr. Sweet, your children use those turf fields correctly? Because aren't they playing soccer on Saturdays and Sundays? And my answer back was a little, snarky, and I said, well, I'm glad you guys know where I'm at on my weekends, but that doesn't answer my question. How much are the turf fields costing? And at the end of the day, they were $3.6 million, of which we borrowed. So, but not getting those answers kind of made me want to go back and get answers and say, well, what's really going on? Why is this, why is this happening? Why are we borrowing $3.6 million? Do we not have it? Where's my study that I asked for, and that they said that was done, that the reason the turf fields are being built was because it cost too much to maintain the grass fields.
Yeah.
So that's what got me really started on it. And then from there, just kind of, I started going to council meetings, listening to, looking at the agenda, asking questions, and it's just kind of snowballed up into 17 where, because in 14 taxes were raised, 16 taxes were raised. And at that point, it was like, well, why are taxes being raised? And they're not answering questions. The people packed the house after the tax raise.
Yeah.
And I remember Orlando saying in 16, well, if you guys had come to the meeting when we voted on this budget, then you could have had a say. But right now, the budget's already passed, and just because your tax bill hit in August, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
So in 17, I kind of made the decision to run for mayor. And I, put a team together and decided to run in the Democratic primary against David Mayer and his bunch.
Yeah.
And shocking as it sounds, I did not win.
You didn't win? Oh.
How was it? How was that in 17 in the primary? How was that against them? How do you feel you did in that?
For a first timer, I think I did pretty well. Being a nobody, coming, and what I mean by that is just, not being, like, I was active in the community, but being a nobody in the political realm. It's just all of a sudden, boom, my name appears on the ballot and things like that. He got 3,500 votes. I got 1,500 votes.
No, not bad then.
So,
Okay.
first time, I lost my two, yes, he got, 70% to 30%, the same percentage as always.
Right.
But it was in a primary. They, it was all hands on deck. I think, to see the Democrat club packed was eye opening as well at that time.
Well, I know, and not to cut you off in your story here, but that running as the in the primary portion, I know I've heard your theory and I've seen it in action at least once, where you said, like, you learned your lesson of running the primary and now you just ignore the primary and then run in the general election as an independent. Do you still think that that's like a good choice or not? Like the Republicans in town or anywhere, I would imagine, are always going to try to run somebody because they're an established, party. Whether there's any or a lot or anybody good to run or not, they're still going to put up a name because it has to be completely embarrassing to be in, you know what I mean, to not put anyone up. So you're always going to have the three split. And I know you've been accused or whatever, people break your stones about oh, well, you stole all their here, and you have your own math to show that wasn't the case or whatnot. But do you ever question that's the right move for this, or like, do you ever think you could ever win the general? I know the first time you did it, you didn't have as much of an impact to actually get the votes, but do you think that there's ever a possibility to go to primary versus doing it the other route?
Yes.
Or what's the
short answer is yes. To
what?
Yes, I think an independent can win. Okay.
No, my question was, do you think that that's the right route?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I do. And the reason being is if you go back and look at the different vote years since David Mayer's taken office, in the primary, he's getting his 3,000 votes. You have the primary, you have a shorter time frame because the primary is in June. You have a shorter time frame to get people out to vote. And that's really what the key is, to getting people out to vote. You only have 19,000, roughly, 20,000 Democrats, okay, that are registered Democrats. And in a primary, only if you're registered to that party, can you vote.
Right.
So
yeah.
Republicans can't vote for a Democratic primary. Independents can't vote for a Democratic primary. All right? They can't, well, the independent can go to the poll and say, I want to declare my party because I want to vote in the Democratic primary. But a lot of people don't want to be associated with a party.
Right.
And in Gloucester Township, the breakdown is my numbers might be slight off, but there's 48,000 voters, registered voters in Gloucester Township. 21,000 are Democrats.
Right.
10,000 are Republicans. 17,000 are independents. Is my math there? 48,000. Yeah. So you have 17,000 people that view themselves as independent. So now you're taking them out of the mix. Mm-hmm. To try and win in a Democratic primary, you usually have about 5,000 people vote, or 3,000 people. When I ran in 2017, 1,500 more people came out to vote than usual. If you look at the Democratic primary this past year, 3,500 people came out to vote. If you look at the primary in 21, Joe, when you and I ran, 3,500 people came out to run. So that's his cap of votes. So now if I have 1,500 people, 5,000 voters, now I've got to convince those 15,000 voters to come out. Some of them to come out. Now, if you look at it and say, okay, he's got 3,000 votes, and I convince, because I'm running and throw my name in the ring, 2,000 more people came in to vote, well, I get a 75% of new voters voting for myself in the primary. Mm-hmm. In order to get 75% to overtake him, I need another 12,000 people to come out to vote out of 19, which would mean that would be historic. Almost 80% of the people to come out and vote on Democratic.
It's not happening, right?
All right, you're not going to get 80%. Now you flip over to the general election. So we put together. Sorry, Joe, I'm bringing you in on this. We put together an independent team. We're made up of Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
All right. The Republicans did put a team together. So there were 3 of us. And if you look at the math, the mayor got 9,500 votes. The Republicans got 7,000 votes. And we got 3,000 votes. So it doesn't take a rocket science to go 7 plus 3 is 10, which is more than what the mayor got. The problem with that is the people that voted for our team weren't necessarily going to vote for the Republicans. Did I steal some votes from the Republicans? Possibly. Did I steal most of the votes, or did we? Keep saying I. Did we steal most of the votes from the Democrats? Well, if you look at the percentage across the board, the current Democratic regime gets about 63% of the vote. The Republicans get 37% of the vote. Goes up and down every year, 64, 62, but it's in that range. The year we ran, 5,000 more people came out to vote. The Republicans still maintained their 36, 37%. The Democrats, though, came down to 49%. We brought up the other difference. So we took away from in rudimentary math, basically, we took away from the Dems. So, to your point, do I think an independent team could win? Yes, I think an independent team could win. What would it take? Well, there's two options. The one is we had 20,000 voters come out. There's 48,000. So can we convince another 10 to 15,000 voters to come out?
No, I don't think you can.
To that point, I don't think that there's anything else that's left to bring new voters out. I think that if you could energize the folks that voted for us in 21 and the folks that voted for Team D'Amico in 21 together, well, yeah, we win an election then. But I feel like that's it. I feel like we capped at that amount of voters that we got in 21. I feel like Gloucester Township is kind of just capped there.
But did we? So we ran a campaign in 21. Usually 15,000 voters come out. Okay? How many came out this year for this election? About 15,000 voters. All right? So when we ran as an opposing team, 5,000 new voters came out. 5,000 additional voters came out, of which we got essentially 66% of that. 65% of those new votes. The mayor's team got 1%, 2%. The rest going to the Republicans.
Yeah.
So if we were to somehow find a way to, let's just say, energize the voters and get 15,000 voters out and still maintain that 65%, well, 65% of 15,000 voters is about 9,000 voters. If the mayor continues his 2% and the Republicans, well, now it's a race between the Republicans and the independent team. And so can it be done? I'm the eternal optimist. I'm going to say yes, it can be done. It's going to take a lot of hard work. The other way, to your point, Keith, is, and to your point, Joe, if the Republicans and the independents came together and we ran a good old-fashioned raid, Republicans and independent Democrats working together, and whether or not that's going to happen, I don't know. I'd like to think it would happen. And if that was the case, I think that would, let's face it, this is a blue city or blue township.
Yeah. Well, yeah, all of Gloucester Township's blue.
So, but if we ran the independent Democrats with Republicans, it would energize the base because now.
What base?
It would energize the Republican base and also all the independent Democrats who don't side with the mayor, who don't like the mayor because of his politics, because of his tax raising, because of whatever reason.
See,
so could it be done? Yes. Will it be done? I don't know. I don't have that answer.
I still go back to so I go back to 21 and I think about the numbers in 21 and I think Team D'Amico got 7,000 some votes. And I would say out of that 7,000 some votes, 5,000 of those people had no idea who was running. And they just voted for that column. They voted for that column. And I say the same thing about the 2023 election and the people that voted for me. I don't think they knew that they voted for me. They just knew that I was in that column and they voted. So the scary part for me to think is that there are not enough people that have any idea what's going on. And I've been criticized in mailers about making fun of Gloucester Township voters, but I don't think the Gloucester Township voters have enough knowledge to know that that third column with the independent voters is the best thing for them. Because I feel like they would have done it in 21 and they would have done it again in 23.
But if there was no Republican column and it was just one opposition to the mayor,
I don't know that they. I feel like the Democrats are going to show up.
But at this point, okay, as Orlando has said several times, he's called out Ray Polidoro and said you're on a 10-year, losing streak, a 12-year losing
more
streak.
Than that, yeah, probably.
Now it's a 14-year losing streak.
Or something.
Yeah.
So they've run, I've gone back since the mayor, excuse me, since the mayor's been elected, and I've done an analysis of what percentage. And every year it ranges from 63 to 70%. They get their votes. The Republicans get 37 to 30 or 30 to 37% of the votes. The only year where they didn't get that amount was the year we ran as an independent team. And we drew from the Democrats because, unfortunately, there are people out there, they're not going to vote for a Republican because they're a Democrat. They just don't show up to vote. Well, we energized 5,000 people to come out to vote that usually don't vote. And out of those 5,000 people, we got close to 65% of that vote, which is unheard of for an independent team.
Well, how can I say that you energized 5,000 people, but only 65,000 of them came out to vote? You got them to 65%. Vote against you?
Some people are going to say, oh, my God, we don't want this person in office because he's crazy. So I'm going to go out to vote anyway. Okay? Or, you know what? Who's this loudmouth that keeps showing up?
Who's the up ticket or whatever you want to say, like in the year that...
Well, when
there's a mayor race, who else is on the ticket? Governor. Too?
So we had Murphy and Jay.
But if you go back to 17, it was the same scenario.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Every year that there's a mayor, isn't it the governor? Or
every year there's a governor race. But 17 and 13, there were only about 15,000 voters that came out. So if you look at 13 and 17, and then go down to 21,
I don't know. The math of it just glazes me over, and it's a strategical thing, and I don't think.
I feel like there's a science there, but there's a lot of people that think there's a science there, and
I'm sure there is.
I really just think that. Now, I definitely think that we got in 21. I definitely think that we got a lot of Democrats to vote for us, because I kind of there was some tension in the people, and I recognized all the names from the people that followed Restore GT, and in 2023 when we said, look, we're going to we want to back the Republican ticket because that's the opposition ticket. There was some people that pulled back, and I saw some negative comments from people that I know were absolutely supporters in 21.
100%. There's people that would vote for Sam that are never going to vote for him, no matter who the Republican nominee or not nominee, what do they call it? I guess it's nominee.
Yeah, candidate.
Candidate. That's candidate. Yeah. Whoever that candidate is, they're never going to vote for them. And the same thing if it was, there's certain Republicans that will never vote for.
Certain Republicans will never vote for a Democrat, no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you run a combined ticket in an independent column, I mean, raids have worked. Raids have worked in Philadelphia for years. Okay, you go back and look at the history of Philadelphia; they have worked. You look at what was the town? I want to say one of the towns in Runnymede, or it might have been Merchantville. The Republicans did not run a candidate, and at one point, I believe it's Merchantville, but they lost by the independent candidate lost by 10 votes, 20 votes.
Damn.
Because all the Republicans gravitated towards the independent because they were all against the.
Well, that was kind of what my point was. Is if the Republicans didn't, do you think that you'd stand a much better chance because they're just still going to vote for anti whoever's the Democrats?
Hopefully,
but I absolutely think they would because, and Joe, I don't mean to bring up a sore subject, but look at this election that just passed. Okay, there was no third party candidate, there was no issues of stealing votes, and what percentage did you guys get? 36%, 37%. The same percentage going back to the 19, the 17, the 15, the 13-year averages. Same percentages.
Yeah.
So my voters either disappeared, didn't vote, or they went back to, well, we're going to vote for the Democrat because he's the best we got. For whatever reason. I'm a firm believer that, and I say this all the time, that on a local level, it really doesn't matter
No, it's
Okay,
yeah, I
you know,
agree.
you're voting the person. Do you agree with what the person has to say and
So
what
let
the
me-
person will do?
Let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but if you've lost that many elections and all that, is it maybe you're not the right person for that top of the ticket, thing there? Is there a different person to put in that same scenario?
I don't know the answer to that. There's a saying that I use in Little League that when I'm coaching the kids, and I said, we're not losers. We're not losing a game. We're learning.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
I agree.
so you can say I lost the election. It's a big joke. I've never won an election, but each election I've learned something.
Oh yeah,
And I've learned what I made a comment at council like I know what it like. Congratulations, I know what it takes to win. Yet I've never won an election. Okay,
Yeah.
so but I've learned different areas and different
but
things
I
that-
guess
that
what
need
I'm
to be
saying
done.
though is okay. So have you learned? And I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just saying it. Have you reflected on like I've learned all these things, but I also learned that people don't want me, but I know what to get somebody else to go forward with. You know what I mean? Like, is there? And I'm just going to use a name because he ran against you before. Like, so say you, and I'm not saying he was the right person, but say Joe D'Amico, right, was the person you say, I know people could elect Joe if he just did what I learned from these last things. Like, do you ever reflect on that part of, or do you always keep it of how does Sam get to be the person?
No,
like
if somebody came, I've thought about that. Like, am I the right person? Okay, I like to think I am. But yeah, I've reflected on: is there somebody better? I'll be honest. I don't think Joe D'Amico is better.
No, I'm not saying he was. I'm just using
saying,
as an example.
But
right?
but if there was somebody out there who's better, somebody out there who's listening wants to run, and they're a better candidate, sure. I have no problem, not running.
I heard you say the last time when you guys ran together, I heard you tell Ray, like, I'll step aside to do this, and it was basically you saying, I don't have to be the person in here. I just need to be.
I went to the Republicans, and back in 2020 we started this, and I went to the Republicans and said, let's run a raid. Republican, give me your two best people. Mm-hmm. And the answer I got back from them was, that sounds great, but we don't want you on the top of the ticket. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then it was, but we know you want to be there, so I guess this ends the conversation. And I said, I don't need to be there on the top of the ticket. I'll step aside. I won't even run. We'll put, I believe I said to Joe Allen, well,
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to be on the top of the ticket? And after the initial shock of, oh my God,
Right.
could this really happen? He was like, sure, let's do that. And he goes, you're not really going to run. I said, no. I said, I'll do behind the scenes. I'll help you guys out. If they don't, but let's work together. I'm not committed to taking down this administration because I feel this administration, while, again, it does good things, but from a taxpayer standpoint, they're not. They're raising taxes, ungodly rates. Since this mayor's taken over, 89% increase. And God knows, I know you've touched upon it, Joe, in your election, what the increase is going to be in 24.
Yeah, and the next problem comes too is, and it's kind of the same thing that we ran into back in 2020 trying to put people together, was at some point you think, I'm going to put a team together and I'm going to interview all these people and we're going to pick 4 great people, and then
who's actually stepping up to go?
That's the thing.
All right. Oh,
so
I'll do it. No one.
After our election in 21, I said, all right, that was okay. I don't ever need to do that again. But in 2022, I committed to finding 4 people and helping the Republicans because I felt like people are going to show up and they're going to vote column 2. And I said, we need to get people in column 2 and vote. It actually wound up being column 1 this year, but I said we need to get 4 people in there that people will vote for. And from the things that I've learned, I'll pass that on. And the things that Ray Henry learned, he'll pass that on. We had Joe D'Amico. He was part of it. We'll pass that on. And honestly, we couldn't find 4 people that wanted to step up.
Right.
You know, we came across Tim Pfeffer, who said, yeah, guys, I'll do it. And then we said, well, it looks like we're going to do it with you. So that was was the problem too, is that there aren't people that want to step up. And then sure you get some crazies that come out and they've got their, you know, they want to run for mayor because they feel like their kids are getting taught the wrong things in schools, and it's like that, you have nothing to do with the schools.
Yeah.
So we've interviewed some wackos, but
so one of the things that I noticed when I was doing that park tour thing and doing the videos and all that stuff, and seeing the what is it called, TBAA, the soccer fields over at the Field of Dreams over there, and that building, and then Erial Little League and all those, and I'm like, this, and like Sam, you're already involved with all the sports stuff in school or in town, and that was like my realizing moment, and I getting involved with this, I didn't pay attention to politics whatsoever. I still don't even care at all this politics stuff, but I realized all these people are involved in different things in the community, and when you go to the Republicans, for instance, for the whole committee. There's none of them are involved in anything in town. They're not involved in Rotary. No. They're not involved in. I mean, maybe they're in their church or something like that. But where are they? And that question has come up multiple times. Where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? And they're just not in the community. And when you go and look at take this last election for instance. I can't think of his name. What's his name? The new guy that was elected,
Jim Nash.
Jim Nash. He's a football, I believe, coach.
Yeah. He is people in GT baseball as well as flag football league.
Right. So people in the community all know this guy. He's already part of of that community, and it's a glaring thing to me of all these other people that are trying to run, not being known by anybody else in the community. And maybe that's where the search needs to go, is finding coaches, people supposedly, not supposedly, for a fact, he was a Republican that had to switch his party in order to run on the Democrat ticket in order to get elected. So you mean to tell me that there's not somebody else out there that has a desire to be involved?
Yeah, Republicans missed a great opportunity to grab that guy and say, hey, we'd like you to represent us.
Well, that's my point. So, and look, I go to council meetings for reasons of I just want to now know what's going on, and was more for my daughter to teach her about government, and she likes going and drags me sometimes to them. But I don't want to say our message, but the message that you hear a lot of times from people who are heavily involved is go to a council meeting sometime. Well, how about instead maybe get involved in the community in a different way to reach out to other people and find other people? Maybe that's the direction that it all needs to start looking for people. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so when I first started getting involved, people were like, go to a council meeting. You want to get involved, go into the council meeting. But
for what? To learn how government works, or
to learn, what you're getting yourself into. Okay, and so I did that. I went to council meetings. Oh my God, how is this working? How does this work? And you go up and ask questions, and it's very intimidating.
Yeah.
To start, one of the first questions I was asking was about turf fields. What's going on? But it's intimidating because they're sitting up there, and you have to go up there, say your name, say where you live, and then ask your question. And it can be intimidating. So a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Right.
Don't want to do that because they see someone like myself asking a question and getting attacked on it on a simple question like, hey, playgrounds. And all of a sudden now I'm being attacked like I don't like playgrounds.
Right.
Okay? Well, or they watch a council meeting and they're like, well, what's he doing? Well, I don't want to stand up there because I don't want to get attacked like that. They Joe, to bring up a point,
But that's to go to council meeting. So not to cut you off there, but it's what if you were to go like the guy Nash that just won there? He never went to a council meeting until he was elected, and then he came in to figure out. Okay, I got 2 months to figure out what the heck I'm getting involved in.
But
he
what does that
just
tell
knew
you?
like, hey, I was asked to go run with these guys. Mm-hmm. Probably didn't know the first thing about what he's getting involved in, but he is involved in the community. He is involved in in other things there. So, is trying to like harp on that whole get somebody out to a council meeting the right path to take to find your next running mate for you?
I believe yes, and to your point, with Jim Nash, he was asked by the Democrats to run, and let's face it, the Democrats have found their winning formula.
Right.
So he's not going to be attacked. Nobody knows who he is.
Right.
No, the Republicans aren't attacking Jim Nash and getting a flyer saying that Jim Nash. And again, I'm not saying anything negative about the man because I really don't know him. I mean, he coaches or he's in charge of GT baseball. So it's a youth organization. I work with Erial Little League. Mm-hmm. So, we have a baseball connection. But other than that, I don't know him. All right? But no one's attacking him.
Right.
Whereas if...
He's protected in a way, yeah.
That if Joe runs, Joe's getting flyers put out against him that he knows somebody who, did stuff that's, immoral.
Right.
Per se. Okay? I get attacked because I put a couple memes out there.
Right.
Okay, that were, for lack of a better word, 8th grade boy humor.
Right.
Okay, some people don't want to be attacked. Some people don't want, and they will dig it, and they know this. So a lot of people are turned off by that. You could find somebody who coaches Little League, and they're, or coaches soccer, and talking to them, they're like, well, I don't have the time to do it, nor do I want to do it. Running for office and serving the people is a thankless job.
Oh, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, you're not going to please everybody. So I could lower taxes. Let's fast forward in a little fantasy world here. I could lower taxes, and somebody will complain about that because they didn't get their trash picked up on our 2 hours. They used to get their trash picked up on Mondays at 9 o'clock, and now it's being picked up on Mondays at 12 o'clock. Yeah. And that's because I lowered their taxes. Let's face it. Someone's going to complain about something. Mm-hmm. You can't fix everything. You're not going to make everybody happy. And some people, it's a thankless job. So that's why when I laugh at Mr. Hutchinson when he calls me out and says, "Do you expect me to take shots and listen to you, berate me?" Well, that's part of the job.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Actually, yeah, because and it's wherever you go. And the higher you go up, the more complaints you're going to get because the more people you're representing. And at the same token, you're representing the more people you go. And to start off, the bigger the group of people, the more problems that you're going to potentially have. If you're only representing 10 people, you can keep 10 people happy. But you're representing now 100 people. You might not be able to keep 100 people happy, maybe 99. Now you're at 1,000 people. Right. You're not going to be able to keep everybody happy because not everyone's going to agree with your politics or your issues. So you have to come up with a plan, what's best for the community as a whole. And if someone questions you on it, explain your position. And whether, they say it a lot of times, we're going to agree to disagree. But when they say it, it's just like, well, we don't want to talk anymore. But I can have a conversation with somebody and say, this is my plan, this is what I feel. And they could say, well, I disagree with it, let's do this. And we can have a conversation about it without being agitated or irate or belittling you, And that's what they don't do right now. So to find people to run, I think that comes into it too because they see what happens. They see, oh my God, my picture's going to be on on a flyer
in everybody's
and
mailbox.
they're gonna find my, find my skeletons in my closet.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. And because for the most part, people are private, and they don't want to also get involved for that. And that's what our township representatives need to do. And I don't think that's what they're doing at. So to get back to your question, am I the right person for the job? Possibly. Maybe not. I don't think all the voters have spoken, because we only had 20,000 voters come out when we ran in 21. There's 28,000 voters that still didn't vote. Why didn't they vote? Well, there are people out there in the township that don't know I even ran for mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be at National Night Out, and the mayor will walk by, and they're like, "We need to find a way to get him out of there." And they're talking to me, and they're like, "If only somebody would run against him."
Yeah.
And these are people in Wyoke,
Right.
which is my neck of the woods. And I make the joke to a friend, I'm like, I got to hire a better publicist, because there's somebody in Wyoke who doesn't know that I ran for mayor. How is that possible? We'd like to think we get all the word out there, but we really can't. We can't send out the flyers. We don't have that financial backing to send out the flyers. I mean, how many flyers did they send out this year, Joe?
Well, they sent out.
We saw that one picture somebody had it. 9 of them in one day they had. That they sent out.
Yeah.
It was like $100,000 or something is what we figured out roughly.
Even though money-wise, though, like this year, this was the greatest opportunity that we had. Anybody, I think's had to run against them, because we had up ticket money to where we sent 3 flyers out just for council this year. And I don't know that anybody's done that in a long time.
But again, I'm not a political strategist or anything like that. But from what I know, they're sending it to people who were going to vote for them anyway. So are you in an echo chamber yelling at hey? So they're more like, hey, we know you're a registered Republican in that case, and get out and vote. You know what I mean? How are they getting the message to the other people? To your point of there's 28,000 people that don't even know that you ran. How do you get the message to that many other people who are the same people?
Well, it's not 28,000 people that didn't know I ran. There's 28,000 people that didn't vote.
That didn't vote.
That just didn't vote. They may know I ran, and I've run into people like that. They're like, I know you ran for mayor, but I don't vote. Why don't you vote? Well, my vote doesn't matter. Well, you and 18,000 other people think the same thing. Well, we control who our elected officials are. We have the right to vote. We also have the right not to vote. But by not voting, you're helping the people that are already in office stay in office.
Yeah.
And you're doing the exact thing that they want you to do. They don't want you to go out and vote, because they know you're going to vote for somebody else. And I'll go back to when we ran in 21, 5,000, new people came out to vote. I know it's not exactly 5,000 people, but 5,000 more people came out to vote than in any other election for a mayor election in 14 years. We picked up 65% of that vote. Yes, some people came out to vote that voted for the Republican because they're like, oh my God, we don't want that sweet guy. He's nuts. So we're going to vote against him. But only 2% voted for the mayor and his team, which is almost unheard of if you ask any political analyst. To have 5,000 new people come out and only 2% go for the incumbents is almost ridiculous. So that means the new people coming out deciding either between the Republicans or the independent team.
Right. Well, but I guess there's an argument to be made that were those people that they come out because people that were up ticket that they were that was what, the year of where COVID and schools were closed and all that kind of stuff, where there are people that were that pissed off about up ticket stuff, where up ticket was Democrat, to say, yeah, we're not voting for the mayor here, I'm voting for somebody else. You know what I mean? It's I don't know what that number actually is.
But to your point, where people go in and vote, if they just go straight down the ticket in column 1, they're going to go straight down and get the Democrat. So most people, you're coming down, and then they skipped over 1 to 2 rows into row 3. into the independent ticket. We got, 3,000, 3,500 votes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't think any of us know what the answer is for the for this.
No, if
here.
if we had the answer, we'd have we'd be putting together a plan for 2025. But I don't think that I think that myself being retired, I don't know that I don't have to think about it, and that feels pretty good. So
Yeah,
but to get back to your point, I did say to the Republicans, I'll bow out.
yeah.
But let's work together as an independent team, and they didn't want to.
Was that the plan again this year, or
In 2025,
Oh yeah,
Well,
what year? I don't know.
the next election is 2025. I mean, what's the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over
And expecting a difference?
result.
Well, an independent team has never been tried with no Republican ticket.
no, I mean it is the one thing that nobody's tried here, and I honestly don't know. Being I'm a committee member now on the Republican committee, and I don't know of a set of candidates that they would run for 25. I think we have exhausted the people that we have to run for office. I think the people that we ran in 2023 were people that wanted to help candidates run in 2023 but didn't want to run, and we ran because we couldn't find other candidates. So in 2025, I think the people that ran before have they gave it their last shot. At least 3 of the 4 that I ran with, I think, are kind of like, we're good. We tried it. It doesn't work. So in 2025, I don't see anybody new running. I don't see anybody running from that side.
But they'll find people. Whether they did in 21, because as early as or as late as January, they didn't have a team.
Right.
January of 21, they had no team put together. Some of the names they were throwing around weren't even on the ticket. They had no team.
Yeah, some parties do that because in 2020 and maybe even 2021, like I was a member of the South Jersey Libertarian Party, and they would find things on ballots and they'd say, "Look, nope, who wants to run for commissioner?" And it would be quiet, and they'd say, "Hey, Bob, what do you got going on?" And Bob would go, I don't know. You want to run for commissioner? We need people on the ballot. And that's pretty much just it. We need party recognition on the ballot, and that's what they would do. So and that's what a lot of these people do. They just need recognition on the ballot.
I mean, at the end of the day, what do we really want for Gloucester Township? Do we want to replace this administration? The answer to that's yes. What way are we going to replace the administration? Well, the simple answer is we have to get more votes than them. But what's the best way to get more votes? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So the Republicans have run 13, well, if you go 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 23, that's 6 out of the 7 elections they've run without a third-party candidate. The third-party candidate, they got the same percentages across the board. In 21, there was a third-party candidate, which we were trying to convince to work together, and combine the two, they got more votes than the current regime. So at the end of the day, what's the harm in actually saying, you know what? Let's try the independent route. Let's not run a candidacy. Let's team together and see what happens. What's the worst that happens? We lose, which means that we're no worse off than if you run a team, the Republicans run a team by themselves, because it's the same result. They're still in power, and it's result. So maybe let's try this route.
Yeah,
I'd love to try the route, and then, and if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong. But we're in the same boat that we were at the beginning. It's like,
That's my main goal here. It's just to prove you're wrong. Because after 21, and I said, Sam, the independents will never win an election. And he said, well, they've never done it by themselves. I said, okay, true. Let's have the guy try it, and if he's wrong, then he will also ride off into sunset. And you know, look, this all falls on the GT voters, because in 21 we had enough combined votes to replace the mayor, and to redeem themselves. They could have done the same thing in 2023, and they didn't. So there are enough people out there that feel the right way, and they just didn't show up. So it's on the GT voters. As much as we've all worked our asses off for all this stuff, it comes back to the GT voters that have failed us. We have not failed anybody by doing what we've done. The GT voters have failed us. So I don't know. I mean, I think anybody that wants to give it a try in 2025, power to them. I think everybody should stand behind whoever wants to step up and do it in 2025. I think everybody in opposition should stand up behind them. That's it for me. What do you guys got?
So are you
Anything else?
saying that we should run an independent team and see if it works, just to prove me wrong?
I don't have any problem with that myself personally. No, I don't have a problem with anybody running. I think if you can find 4 people that want to run, that will stand up and run, then I think you've got more than what will probably be the end result at the end of 2024. I don't think you're going to find people throughout 2024 that are going to want to run. So if an independent team could find 4 people that want to run by the end of 2024, yeah.
But if they put a Republican ticket together of just 4 people, like you said, oh, Bob, Mary, Sue, Joe. Sorry, not Joe. Bob, Mary, Sue. Bob, Mary, Sue, and, Jim. The 4 of you are running. Well, they're going to get their percentage. In order for a raid to work and the independent team, you can't have a Republican ticket. That doesn't mean the Republicans can't run together. That's the whole purpose of a raid.
Yeah. I mean, I think I look, if 4 Republicans came out of the darkness that were really good and said, we want to fix this town, by June of 2024, I'd say, okay, good. But like I said before, by the time the election starts kicking off for 2025, you better have candidates and 100 volunteers. And I don't see that happening with the representation that I had running in 2023 on the Republican side. I don't see it on any side, any side other than the Democrat side. But hey, if an independent can get people together and do it, that'd be awesome.
Because at the end of the day, let's face it, and I agree with you. We need 100 volunteers. Yeah. Okay, we need people to get the word out. As much as we got the word out, there are still people that never received our flyer for whatever reason, right. or they got it and they just didn't pay any attention to it. There are people that didn't know we ran for office. So there's a lot of uphill struggles, but nothing that I don't think we can overcome. But at the end of the day, to your point, Keith, I don't think an independent will win. An independent ticket will win if there's a Republican ticket.
No,
right? Definitely not.
And
Never.
Unfortunately, I don't think a Republican ticket without the independents will win either, because you have too many voters, Democrat voters, that will want to vote for an independent ticket that has Democrats on it, and not just all Republicans.
Yeah.
And can it be done? I'd like to think so. I'm the eternal, like I said, I'm always the eternal optimist.
Yeah.
And I'd love the chance to prove you wrong and prove the Republican Party wrong, and
I might not move if you prove me wrong.
And from a standpoint, if we fast forward, okay, let's just say we put together a raid and fast forward and we pull off the upset win. Now all of a sudden you've got a mayor and 2 Republicans on council, and now all of a sudden council meetings become more of a quid pro quo. Like, people are going to talk. It's going to be asking questions. There's going to be an interaction between council that I don't think you've seen in this town for a while. Like, if we actually went to a council meeting and kept our mouths shut and did not get up there and ask a question, the council meeting would be 15 minutes at tops. All right? After the introduction, and there have been meetings that have gone that way, where nobody gets up to speak because nobody shows up or nobody has anything. And they love it when it's like that, because they don't care about the interaction. And as a parent, by watching the township people come out to vote against a tax, or come out and say, we don't want our taxes raised, and they come out to that meeting, and more people come out to those meetings. It packs the house, and at the end of the day, it's a 7-0 vote, 6-1 vote. And as much as the budgets have been voted on, the only time was when Andrea Stubbs voted no. On a budget.
Right.
And I had asked her why she voted no, and she's like, well, it's getting hard for a single parent.
Yeah.
This past, they also did, whoever was running also voted no on the budget, but they had, what's her name, who left Township?
Tracy Trotto.
Tracy Trotto voted yes on it, knowing that she'd already moved out of town.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a 4-3 vote at that time, so that the people who were running could say, oh, no, I voted against it, the tax increase last time.
It's just
charade.
charade.
That was convenient. Yeah, it's all charade.
It's all charade. And, so I'd love the opportunity to prove you wrong, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely something that hasn't been tried. I mean, this whole conversation, I don't know who it appeals to other than, us sitting here, because nobody gives a crap about any of this.
No.
Conversation that we're having here.
The positive that would come out of it all, if anybody were to win 4 seats, the positive thing that would come out of it all was it would open the door to a ton of people that would say, okay, well, they won, I would do it. It's also not, right now it will be a terrible feeling to get on there and be one of 7 people that when 6 of them are against you, it'd be terrible to be on there. But if you got 4 people on there, it would open the door for other people to go, wow, man, it's not okay. I saw some people win, and if I won, then I could get on there with those people, and it wouldn't be terrible. Right. So it would open the door for a lot of new people, I think, to come in, which is a really positive for the town. And then there would be a lot of discussion up on there, because you wouldn't have 4 people elected that were all controlled by the same machine. They would be their own people, and they'd have discussions, and it would be kind of a great thing. And then more people would want to get involved in that discussion, and it would really benefit the town.
Well, that's what I think where all of us come from, is that we need balance up there, and there's no balance. It's all one. It's very one-sided.
Well, to play to that point, the only time, and we make jokes about it, but the only time you see the mayor is when there's a photo opportunity, when it's National Hispanic Month, Black Awareness Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, okay, or they're inducting police officers. So there's a photo op there, okay, and all those events take place before the council meeting, and he never stays for the council meeting. Right. He jets away, and when I first started going, I'm like, why isn't the mayor going? If you look at other council meetings, the mayor is there.
Oh yeah,
and and the mayor's
Well,
there
that's
for
their type of government, though, too.
Yeah.
The form of government that they have.
but the mayor is there also because in the other towns because they have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 Republicans, or they have different people on their council, and the mayor's not proposing a law, and doesn't know how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Plus, the mayor's making himself available to the people for a question. Now, if the mayor's sitting in the chair, then we can go up and ask the mayor a direct question. But he doesn't need to be there because all the laws that are coming from his administration, they're already rubber stamped.
It's already decided it's going to be passed.
And so he doesn't need to sit there, and he doesn't need to lobby. He doesn't need to explain, hey, this is why we need this law because of A, B, C, and D. It's already been discussed. It's already it's a set deal.
Yeah.
And that's why, to your point, Joe, it would be really interesting and I think eye-opening if there was actually open dialogue, open discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Sweet, you know what? What you want to do, you can't do because of A, B, and C. All right? The reason we borrowed for the roof 5 times is there's 5 sections. I'm making this up. There's 5 sections of the roof. Mm-hmm. Okay? And we don't want to hit the taxpayers with $1 million bill all of a sudden 1 year. So we'll borrow a little bit here and there over 5 times. All right? Now, whether I agree with that or not is a whole different conversation, but at least that's a reason why we borrowed for the roof 5 times.
It's an answer. It's not just a blank stare like, we didn't do it. They just gaslight. I mean, that's the whole thing. Everything's gaslit up there.
And they say that I come in unprepared, and then I'm trying to do a dialogue,
a gotcha moment or something.
Or not even a gotcha moment. I think Orlando one time said, you're trying to produce a narrative that doesn't exist. And then I was like, well, here it is. Here's the paperwork. Here's 2018, 2019. Here's the roof. It's not a dialogue. Would you like to see the paperwork? And the answer is no, we don't need to see that.
Right.
Well, so then don't tell me I'm trying to create a narrative when it's there in black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this town just needs a little bit of hope, I feel like. That's the Republican committee and involvement. Like you said, like Orlando said before, like they've been, almost 20-year losers, right? Like when people ask where are they, they've given up, basically, right? And then that's what kind of the people of the town have done, too. They just know how many times have you heard it running, like, my vote doesn't count because they just feel completely beaten down. There's something needs to happen to give them the hope that they say, my vote does count. There was change. Oh, my God, it can happen here. I think they just feel like it's just too big of a machine that's never going to,
In the last 2 years, the Republicans have taken on some new faces, but it's not nearly enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. They need a lot more.
Right.
And, like we've all said, on a local level, it doesn't really matter the party. But if you got to pick some kind of opposition, if you're not going to go independent, you join that or join something. I mean, no matter what you're going to do, either go and join the Republican committee or join the independent movement. Do something.
Right. But
get involved.
I agree, Sam, that them putting up 4 random candidates is not going to.
It's not.
Like, let them find 2 good ones, like you said, right? You can find 2 good candidates. You find another good candidate or whatever to run with you, and there, do your raid, and it's never been tried. What's the harm in doing it? What are you going to lose again? Oh, whoops. You've already done that the last 20 years. What the hell's the difference?
Well, no, I wouldn't lose. I would learn something.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying
I would learn
them.
something.
For them to not run somebody. Like, what are they going to lose by not running somebody? What are you going to lose an election? You're going to waste more money on, running? Build up your coffers for the next time or something. I don't know. It makes sense to me. So I wish you luck with it.
That's it.
I don't know how much longer we can talk about the same thing in circles, but
we are. We're like 2 hours. Like this is gonna be a 1 hour podcast. It's 2 hours in already.
Oh,
so folks, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to the podcast. Hit the notification bell so you know when we're on, because this thing comes out whenever we get it out there.
whenever we feel like it.
And thank you to Sam Sweet for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
And it's been great doing this podcast and the previous podcast with you. So hope to have you back again. Anything else?
No, I'm spent.
Nah, yeah, it is. I got no voice left. We will see you guys soon. Thanks for
See you
checking us
guys.
out.